Hello, hello, and welcome to Northern Berkshire Tonight, brought to you by the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition. My name is Tim Schiebler, and I'm the Program Coordinator for Youth Development at the Community Coalition. And today I'm joined by two of the participants from a program that we run at NBCC called the Youth Leadership Program. The Youth Leadership Program, or YLP as we usually call it, is it's a program designed for Northern Berkshire youth ages 13 to 19, like these bona fide Northern Berkshire youth you see before you. And what we do is we come together on a weekly basis, have some conversations, do some activities around different leadership skills, and then there's a community service component as well. And one of the big things that we do in that group is we kind of hand the reins over from one of our monthly forums to the youth group for a topic that's relevant and pertinent to them. And this year, that topic is climate change and global warming. We've been planning and organizing this forum for a couple of weeks now, kind of getting into the meat of it. That forum is going to take place on, as you can see, the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day. Wear your green. I think that works for Mother Nature and leprechauns, right?
I don't think I own green.
That's okay. We'll get Cheyenne.
I only wear
green.
khaki.
So most of tonight's program is going to be talking about that forum. Before we get into that, just a couple announcements from the Northern Berkshire world. The first is that on March 19th at 3:30 at the Green in North Adams, we're going to be hosting a workshop on civic engagement, the voting process, and how to kind of best interact and engage with your local politicians. That workshop is going to be led by AJ Enchil, who is an aide in Senator Adam Hines' office. That's totally free of charge. It's really designed to be for people who are new to the voting process or are approaching the voting process, just sort of an introduction into that whole world. And then there's going to be an opportunity to ask some questions of AJ too. We also have a workshop series. This is going to be the first of a series. It's on March 30th from 4 to 6 at NBCC, which is 61 Main Street. And the series is called Adulting 101. This is the first of the series, and it's about budgeting and accounting and kind of an introduction to money management and stuff like that. And this is also designed for people who are sort of new to that process, young people who maybe don't have a background knowledge of that. So that one's going to be hosted by Stephanie Martin, who works for the Greylock Federal Credit Union. And like I said, that'll be March 30th, 4 to 6, right at NBCC, 61 Main Street. Last but not least, Roots Teen Center is having a fundraiser on Saturday, February 29th at 7 o'clock. There's going to be some activities, some games, I think some raffles, some food, some live music. So definitely check that out. That's another great organization for young people. And other than that, I think that's just about all I've got for announcements. So we'll kind of shift gears a little bit here and start talking about the forum. So like I said, the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition does monthly forums around a variety of topics that is kind of set by the community. So we try to be responsive to the needs of the community. And each year, one of those forums is led by the young people in the Youth Leadership Program. In years past, that group has covered things like mental health, youth mental health, ways that the community and schools could be more supportive of youth. And this year, as I mentioned, they'll be tackling the very important and very weighty topic of climate change and global warming. So first and foremost, why don't you introduce yourselves? Cheyenne, do you want to start?
Hi, my name is Cheyenne. I'm a student at McCann, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Joaquin Barnes. I'm a sophomore at McCann.
Thank you. And this is, Joaquin, this is your second year?
Yes, this is my second year of YLP.
And Cheyenne, this is your first
Yeah,
year?
it's my first.
Cheyenne and I have worked together in other programs, but
Yeah.
this is a first go-around in the youth leadership program. So rather than me try and talk about this forum, I figured I'd ask some questions of these guys and let you hear it from the people who are putting in the majority of the effort here. So first and foremost, why do you think climate change is an important topic to discuss?
So I believe climate change is an important topic to discuss because it's our future. We're as a young generation, we are going to be alive longer than the older generations, and climate change is becoming a bigger and bigger of a problem. So we should really focus on that, so we don't have even worse problems in the future for our generations coming after us.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Joaquin?
I mostly point for point agree with what Cheyenne just said. I personally think it's an important thing to discuss because it is one of the biggest destroyers. It's actually the number one cause of prediction of what will end humanity as we know it.
Right, and it feels like that those predictions are becoming more and more dire, sort of, as we move forward.
Especially as we look onto the news and see, oh, this place has been flooding more than usual. This place has been having more fires than usual. It's been getting warm. There's been warmer winters.
Would you look at that? The animals are going away.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely alarming things, alarming trends. Obviously, you guys don't represent all young people in America, so I won't ask you to speak for all young people, but I'm curious, how is climate change discussed amongst your friends, amongst your peers? How is it usually brought up and talked about?
Sorry.
So generally, our generation views all things that could end humanity as a joke, but we also recognize it is a very serious problem, and basically our way of coping with it until we are handed the reins of power is to basically just jest about it.
I gotcha. Yeah.
But I also I think that's what Joe was saying, was that I think also, in some sense, we also all kind of have the reins of power with social media because I know there's young activists who are starting movements again and stuff.
Yeah.
But until we have the official reins of power, until we can officially be listened to and have yeah. But what Joe was saying.
So it's you feel like your generation kind of recognizes the importance, but also recognizes the kind of dire nature of it,
but we want to do something. It's just we need to have more power to do that. All we can do right now is basically beg the older generations who are in power to do something about it.
Yeah.
So.
Cheyenne, you mentioned seeing a lot of young activists, and that's certainly something that I notice.
I know there's Fridays for Future, and there's a lot of online movements that started out. I know there's Extinction Rebellion, I think. There's a lot of, and they have branches for specifically teenagers and children to join and stuff and help out.
Do you guys think that that seeing activists like Greta, even, I know it's not related to climate change, but the students from Parkland,
the Flint, Michigan girl.
I don't think I know about the Flint, Michigan.
Her name starts with an M.
Okay.
There's a girl who basically had put a sign up when she first lost water, and then she just took a picture a few weeks ago of her now grown, still not having water.
Yikes.
So there's a lot of young activism that's spurred online and stuff, and we see it, and we want to join it.
Right. That was kind of going to be my next question. What is the effect of seeing other young people? Makes you more likely to get involved?
it falls under the peer pressure thing of when you see everyone else doing it, don't you want to do it too?
Yeah, yeah, that's rare. Well, I won't say rare. An example of positive peer pressure, I would say,
Yeah.
which is less talked about. Awesome. So we often have sort of a wide range of people attend our forums, and I'm wondering if you could sort of like choose who would be there. What sort of people are you hoping attend this forum?
People in positions of power who can help, people who want to help, people who are interested in helping. I want to see people who are passionate about this, and also people who don't really know much about it, who step in and start learning about this stuff and want to help. And also people who don't necessarily believe in climate change, so they can really see up close the people behind what we're behind fighting against climate change. Because I know one of our forum topics is what are people around our area doing to combat climate change, and what are individual people doing, just little things, what they can do that's inexpensive. So I guess everyone really.
Yeah,
everyone.
and everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joaquin?
Personally, I mean, I know this is the youth-led forum, so it's a bit of a corny answer, but I would like some of the youth who aren't generally the people that fight and speak out to come to the forum and see if that maybe makes them a bit more opinionated about things and makes them a bit more willing to try and fight.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, seeing examples of, people who are similar to you stepping into roles like that, I think can be pretty impactful.
Yeah.
If you could sort of convince people your age to come, let's say that you have the floor to kind of convince them, what reasons would you give for coming to a forum like this as a young person?
I would say this forum is one of the more important ones for them to show up to, which is why they should, because this is the one that will most directly impact what's going to happen in their immediate future.
Yeah. Cheyenne, anything to add?
No, I think Joaquin said it.
Yeah, it's one of the most relevant topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to have lasting effects too. It's only going to get worse, and it will get to the point where we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so our descendants are going to have to suffer the most of it.
Right.
And they're going to wonder why we didn't do anything to stop it before. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there so as you guys have been doing a little research and kind of formulating the structure of this forum, is there anything that you've found out that surprised you, or any kind of new information? Anything you want to share?
Yeah. Since the 1600s, there have been studies about the negative effects of impacting our environment and climate too much. When an English scientist was like, wait a minute, cutting down the trees makes everything hard to breathe in. This isn't good.
So what was the surprising fact? That it was
the fact that we've known about this for 420 years and no one's done anything about it.
Right, yeah. It's not exactly a completely new theoretical science or anything
that
like
we keep making the same mistakes and not listening to people who have discovered, oh, this stuff is bad, why don't we cut back on that? And instead, well, let's continue going because this is how we're going to go forth, this is how we're going to make money in some situations. It's all about just instant profit.
Right.
We're not going to think about the future, only the future of what can we get, not what what will benefit everyone as a whole. We only think about what we can benefit from, not what everyone else can.
Would you say, obviously it's kind of hard to, speculate on this, but do you think that that's sort of the biggest driving factor and the reason why we haven't done enough about climate change?
I feel like yes, in a way, because people have their own agenda, and sometimes it really doesn't always include, helping others, and that's fine, but it's not when your agenda includes harming others for your actions.
Right.
So, and I mean, that's kind of how climate change became a bigger and bigger problem, because the people who can help, who can do big things about it, don't want to, because they want to profit and continue getting things for themselves. They just don't care enough.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't matter to them. It's what they're going to get right now and what they're going to get for their family, but only for themselves and their family.
Yeah, it creates a really interesting tension in this whole conversation of that feeling that there are people that could be doing things that are choosing not to, and it's hard not to feel that way sometimes, seeing all the evidence and hearing all the conversations.
I mean, so like someone who has billions of dollars, all they have to do is pay $65 million to fix the water in Flint, Michigan.
Yep.
That's excuse me. That's just one small thing,
Right.
and it's not like directly related to climate change. But if that it could be fixed by now if someone had stepped in, or if had had already been a good system in place to help people, to help with problems in communities and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't.
So there's often, for myself, I can, whoops, hit my microphone. Sorry, Paul. I often, for myself, can sort of get overwhelmed at the amount of I don't want to say pessimistic, because it's oftentimes seems very, very based in fact, but a lot of times there's so much information that it can kind of feel like an overwhelming amount of negativity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It can be hard to feel hopeful, but I'm wondering from your guys' perspectives, like, what does give you hope? Is there things that give you hope that maybe it's not all doom and gloom in the future?
Oh, most definitely. In other parts of the world, like for example, I believe England is trying to phase out like coal and gasoline usage, thus drastically cutting its carbon footprint in the world. And of course, there's also the whole thing of the youth that are now realizing that we can fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think at times, there is hope. Like that people who can do something are starting to doing something about this all. But personally, at times, I feel like it might not be enough, because I don't know too much about this, but I know that in the Paris Agreement, one of the requirements to meet that, not every country even met that when it was still, So I don't think we're doing enough. I don't think it's ever going to be enough at times.
Yeah, feels like the train's too far down the track in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we sort of have touched on this a little bit already, but does it feel like your generation is going to have to tackle the brunt of climate change?
Yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. No one else is doing anything.
Right.
And we seem to be the only ones to actually recognize it for the problem it is. So yes,
I feel like it's going to be our generation, and then the generation that's coming up right now. It's just going to be all of our problem. It's going to be everyone's problem until it finally isn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Is that, again, I don't want to ask you to speak for everybody, but is that sort of your general sense of other people's attitudes, that it feels like it's kind of up to you guys to
be the activists.
To be the activists? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's now or never, because a lot of scientists say that we're coming up to a point where the effects of climate change, of a climate crisis, the time to do anything about it, anything that will actually save our planet Earth, is just it's coming up, and
Right.
we're not doing enough to fight against it.
Well, I can tell you, and this may sound like something of a canned answer, but it does make me hopeful working with people like you who are motivated and intelligent and thoughtful about this sort of stuff, and knowing that you're far from the only two motivated, intelligent, thoughtful young people out there. That does give me a lot of hope, and it's sort of a double-edged sword, because I think seeing all these young people step into roles of starting movements and being major activists, on the one hand, it's really inspiring and really amazing and a testament to what young people can do. And then on the other hand, it kind of is disappointing that
we have to be the ones.
That you have to be the ones, yeah, that there's not more people my age stepping into those roles and older stepping into those roles.
Especially since there's like videos from like the 1950s and 60s talking about this, and still some people don't even believe in climate change,
right.
And it's disappointing that there could be so much more we could have done by now. We could have prevented a lot more, the extinction of like species who've gone extinct because of climate change, because of rising sea levels destroying their habitats and whatnot. We could have done a lot. A lot of could have been done by now, but not enough has been. So.
Yeah. Anything to add on that, Joaquin?
No.
All right. Let's see. So there's a lot to be taken away from this conversation and this topic, and there's a lot of ground that could potentially be covered. So I'm wondering, what do you hope are some things that people take away from the forum? Like what do you hope people walk away feeling or thinking or having learned?
I hope people walk away with the idea that there's still time left, even if we still have to do something. We can't just give up. Mm-hmm. Even if the time is coming up close and that things are falling apart much faster, we still have to try, because I mean, there's only we're as a species, we have to like help each other out. We're on this earth and we should help each other. We're on this earth all alone, and we're choosing to instead help each other, to allow this to continue, allow climate change to worsen. I feel like we should instead help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with literally everything she just said. She took every word out of my mouth.
Great, easy enough.
Yep.
Except you probably could say it much better though, because I
said
can't.
It louder.
Oh yeah, you can say
louder.
It louder.
Fair, not better maybe, but louder.
Yeah.
What do you think? And maybe it's a little early to ask this question in our sort of learning and research process, but what do you think are some next steps that individuals could take? Let's start there. What's some things that we as individuals could do to make an impact?
I think maybe be more aware of what you're doing, like what you're throwing away, what you're buying, and other things that are just in your house that you don't really need. You should be more aware of exactly what you do. You shouldn't be over buying things you don't really need. Yeah, and maybe eat healthier. You don't have to completely cut out certain foods in your diet, but cut out what you don't eat, and that might help in other cases. It could lessen the burden on other industries.
For the longest time, Massachusetts and most of like New England was completely agrarian, and how it survived. I feel like, well, of course, a large-scale farm is just impractical in this day and age. Still having a small vegetable garden or some fruit trees might actually drastically cut down on all of the bad climate bad.
All the bad climate bad.
Yep.
You had me right until the end there. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the presence of trees has been shown to have a lot of amazing benefits. I'll take an opportunity to shout out Brett Beatty, who is heading up a tree planting initiative through Northern Berkshire Community Coalition at the moment with the city of North Adams. And as a result, I've learned sort of secondhand a lot of the benefits, particularly in a relatively urban area like North Adams. So yeah, Those are the sort of examples that seem really tangible and accessible. Plant more trees. Support tree planting initiatives.
I know that one of my teachers, he likes to hike and stuff, and he was talking about how he passed by like an area where all the trees were cut down, and he saw it was like really sad.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that. I mean, I know we need things and we need plastic in some cases, and we need paper in others, but there should be better ways and better, we should plant more trees, and we should really be we should really be aware of how we're using things and how we should, reuse them. We shouldn't waste things.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only one Earth at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if there's anything out there, but right now we have to work with what we have, and yeah.
Couldn't agree more. So we've got just a few minutes left, so I've got one more question, I suppose, for you. So we talk a little bit about what individuals can do, and there's a lot of conversation about the larger players in the global warming and climate change conversation, the larger contributors. So briefly, what do you think we as individuals can do to influence those sort of larger entities?
Of course, there's, as Cheyenne mentioned somewhat in the last question, voting with your dollar, where basically you buy what you know can be either locally sourced, ethically sourced, if they treat their workers right, if they're lower on carbon emissions, and how they produce all of their foods or their electronics or their paints.
Yeah, whatever it may be. Yeah.
I just hope it won't be too expensive, because I know one thing that companies like to do is that, hike up the prices on if you that you have to pay more to be more ethical, and that kind of saddens me. I just hope that we get to a point where we're better off.
Yeah, and where it's accessible to...
Yeah, accessible to everyone.
Right.
So people will stop, being mad at other people who aren't doing as much as they could because they just can't afford to.
Right.
Because it's not their fault. It's all of ours, and in a sense, it's also the bigger people who do too much harm.
Mm-hmm. We're all in this together,
Yeah.
like you said. Well, I want to thank you both very much for being here on a Friday with me. I think that was a great conversation. As you can see, these two and the rest of the group have a lot to say. So please join us March 17th. It's at the Green, which is 85 Main Street, 5 to 7 p.m. Come and hear the conversation, get involved, and see what you can do to make a difference in your community. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.